the problems that are out there. Gentleman from Fairfax, Mr. Plum.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, as part of our celebration of Black History Month, it's my honor to share with you the life story of Taylor Williams, who was a former colleague of mine in Fairfax County Public Schools, and he was a former neighbor and constituent. But in order to appreciate Taylor Williams' life, it's important to create some historic context. Some are surprised to learn, and others tend to forget, that the Virginia Constitution of 1902 prohibited black and white students to attend the same school. It stated, and it's kind of amazing to realize today, that we would, in the Constitution, Section 120 of the Constitution, state, white and colored children shall not be taught in the same school, period. While many think that Brown versus Board of Education in 1954 ended segregated schools in the Commonwealth, it took another decade to integrate the schools in Virginia. During that decade, there were endless legislative maneuvers, gubernatorial actions, more than 40 lawsuits, and a campaign of massive resistance to keep from desegregating the schools. Now, Taylor Williams grew up in a segregated society. He was adopted by the first dean of Tuskegee Institute College Division, from which he graduated in 1940. Taylor joined the Fairfax County school system in 1950 as a teacher and part-time principal at James Lee Elementary School, one of the schools for blacks in Fairfax County. Fairfax had several elementary schools for black students in the major black communities in the county. James Lee School, as I mentioned, was near Falls Church. Lillian Carey Elementary was in the Bailey's Crossroads area, Louise Archer in Vienna, and there were others. As black schools in the South went, these schools were brick and considered modern for their time. Now, I have no information on how they were staffed and equipped. But what I want you to note is that when I listed these schools, I mentioned that they were all elementary schools. Fairfax County students who wanted to go on to high school or to go to trade school had to go about 25 miles out of the county, either to Manassas to a regional school or into the District of Columbia. In 1954, Taylor Williams was named principal of the first black school in Fairfax County, the first black high school. That was Luther Jackson High School. In 1964, when the schools in Fairfax County were integrated, Luther Jackson became an integrated intermediate school where Taylor Williams remained principal until 1970, when he became principal of Madison High School in Vienna. He was the first black principal in the intermediate school and the first black principal of a high school in Fairfax County. Now, when Fairfax County, with a student population of about 120,000 students, decentralized its administration into 4 administrative areas in 1971, Taylor Williams was selected as superintendent for Area 1. That's recognized in the county as being the most challenging area for student achievement. But the rise of Taylor Williams through the ranks of school administration demonstrated the high esteem and the admiration with which he was held by the school board, by the administration, and by parents. When the warning signals of "here comes the principal" was sounded in many schools, students would scatter in different directions. But with Taylor Williams, students would flock around him to enjoy his calm manner, his sense of humor, and his wisdom, but with strict discipline. Taylor Williams was a key figure in integrating the public schools in Fairfax County, and he was one of the earliest residents of Reston, the first community in Virginia fully open to racial integration. Ebony magazine in about 1965 featured a photo and a story about Reston of Taylor Williams and his wife sitting on the deck of their then town home in Reston, a deck that they shared with a white family. I am honored to have known Taylor Williams. I know that thousands of young people's lives and the quality of life in our community are better because of him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.